So thank you for taking the time to be part of our second webinar in this Teacher Wellbeing Masterclass series. What a crazy 2 weeks it's been since we last did the webinar. The Delta virus continues to be elusive for most of the country now, Northern Territory, ACT, it's still Sydney, or all of New South Wales now. I mean, it's very challenging right now, and lockdowns everywhere, and now even New Zealand is also under a lockdown. The topic for this week is building a wellbeing fence, and now more than ever has this become urgent and essential for schools. Now, the webinar we did 2 weeks ago, if you missed it, it was on teacher work-life balance. And Daniela and Tim shared 10 great tips on how we can find that balance. If you missed out on it or would like to see the recording, it is on our YouTube channel and Facebook, but I will also send that link in the comments here shortly. Our presenters tonight, again, are Daniela and Tim, two amazing presenters with years of experience of assisting schools with building the wellbeing fence for teachers and students. Now, before we start today, I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples present here today. I will hand it over now to Tim and Daniela to provide us with some insights on such an important topic today.
Oh, brilliant, Adam. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that we put our hands up, Tim, when they introduced us, because, you know, with them, people might get confused. So, you know, I just had to make sure.
I'm not the good looking one, okay? It's this one here, Daniela, right, guys? But hey, look, it's just terrific to join with you all tonight. And listen, you're giving us probably one of the most precious gifts people can give to each other these days, which is the gift of time. And I feel honored, and I know Daniela feels honored in that you've given us that time. And together we are going to explore this issue about the importance of building a fence at the top of the well-being cliff. And so let me start. And I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And so here we go. And so let's hopefully we can do that. Here we are. Share. Yep, there we go. Boom. And we'll make that screen a bit bigger. So we're laughing. There we go. Here we are. Oops. Here we are. There we go. Right. Look at that. I did say that that I'm not the handsome one here. Daniela is. Daniela, can I just say it is an absolute privilege to do these webinars with you. You lovely thing. It really is.
Yeah, no, and the feeling's mutual, Tim. Also, I mean, you know, your experience and wisdom as being, you know, the principal of the King's School, apart from your expertise in boys education and leadership, is phenomenal. And, you know, I've been a teacher on the front line, if you like, with the Department of Education in New South Wales for 10 years, and then independent schools and doing other things for 10 years. And I'm now specialising in the teacher wellbeing space. So I think, you know, together we provide different perspectives, but nonetheless a collective message and a shared vision. So it's an absolute privilege to be here.
No, it is great. It's particularly great that we have Daniela and with her teacher wellbeing experience, because so much about student wellbeing is going to be predicated on teacher wellbeing, and so that means that what Daniela has to contribute is just going to be so very important. So let me start by saying building a fence at the top of the cliff. Now, of course, if we're going to build a fence at the top of the cliff, there is probably a pretty good reason, and that's probably because we don't want people tumbling down the cliff. And it basically explores the whole issue of prevention being better than the cure. Now, it was interesting. I was thinking about this prevention being better than the cure. And then I realized, good grief, this is describing COVID, isn't it, at the moment? And we're now about having these jabs in order to immunize ourselves against COVID. I tell you what, I'd much prefer if there was a cure for COVID. I really did, rather than preventative jabs. But nonetheless, it is a truism, isn't it, that prevention Absolutely. Is better than a cure. And can I just quietly say that we certainly do need a cure. we're finding, for example, that 20% of teenagers are suffering from some form of mental illness. Many have what we call co-occurring disorders. Suicide is the leading cause of death of 5 to 17-year-old children in Australia. And here's a shocking stat, Daniela. 80% of Australian child suicides, 18% are those from First Nations backgrounds.
Yeah.
Isn't that appalling, Daniela?
Oh, it's actually heart-wrenching. My background is as a PE, health, physical education, health teacher. And we spend a lot of time in the health curriculum studying Indigenous statistics and health status. And it's appalling, and we need to do more. We need to do more for young people's mental health in terms of prevention. And, you know, we talk about, we can write the research papers on it, we can talk about it, but sometimes common sense is not so common. And if we're really serious about the mental health of young people and staff in education, we need to really look at the preventative side and invest and integrate the preventative aspects to support young people before they actually become, you know, in that dangerous era.
Yeah. And they do need that support, Daniel. You're absolutely right. Because, I mean, suicides, for example, in the LGBTIQ plus arena is much higher than that for others. And a quarter of suicides are with migrant children with refugees and migrant backgrounds. And you know, people sort of say, oh, golly, on these intervention issues, it's going to be expensive. Can I just quietly say this, that the ROI, return on investment, of intervention measures in terms of student mental health yields a terrific return. If we intercede early, if we stop what would otherwise be a huge medical bills and so on, and lowered productivity and so on, the return on investment is extraordinary. And in fact, most research suggests that whatever outlays are spent in interceding in mental health of students is recovered within 2 years, and over a lifetime yields a return of sometimes 2, 3, 4, even 500%. So
it's really interesting that you say that, Tim, as well, because with student wellbeing, sometimes people say, oh, it's very difficult to measure and difficult to gain the return on investment, which is not. There are measures out there. But what's interesting, if you want to look at wellbeing at work, there are many organisations, PricewaterhouseCoopers, other organisations that have done extensive research on the return on investment of wellbeing at work for staff. As being something like 200%. So it's definitely worthwhile for staff and for students, definitely.
Yeah. Now, look, this is a rather grim slide, isn't it? Tombstoning. I think tombstoning is actually, interestingly enough, it is the recreational jumping up off of cliffs. I had to look it up. And people plunging into the surf below and into the waters below. And that's the recreational jumping off of cliffs. Look, if it's recreational and if it's safely into water, then that has got to be, you know, a good thing, a lot of fun. The tragedy is, and that which we're exploring this evening, Daniela and I, is the fact that we need to stop people from jumping off the cliff, not just literally, but figuratively, in terms of their mental health. In other words, we need to stop people sliding down the cliff, the well-being cliff. And one of the most extraordinary things, I don't know about you, Danielle, but one of the most extraordinary things I find, this astonishing blind spot, is that we have so many programs, well-being programs, that monitor. They even have names, you know, which indicate that they monitor. And I find that this to be totally inadequate, because we don't want to monitor the rate of fall of students, you know, as they tumble down the well-being cliff. We need to prevent them from falling in the first place. And this is one of the most astonishing blind spots that I see. I don't know about you, Danny, I'll be interested in your views. One of those astonishing blind spots I find in the current intervention programs that are available out there to schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we know we're all educators, so we know education. We want quick, fast, now. Give me the answer. I've got this amount. I've got this budget, and I've got 1 day professional learning. And it's like, you know what? Nothing answers. You can't. No, there are no answers that can actually fit the 1 day model. And what schools are very good at finding solutions. Schools are very good at finding what works. But schools are not very good at implementing effective solutions. There's a difference between finding a solution and implementing an effective solution. And to implement an effective solution, you actually need time.
Yeah.
You need investment. You need teacher voice. You need staff voice. You need input from all stakeholders in the community. And one of the things that we're not doing that well is the implementation part, because we want the quick fix, want it now, measure it now. I want results in 1 term or 1 week. And it's like, no, we're looking at 3-4 years. We're looking at implementation strategies that take time. It's transformative change, not just quick fix change. And schools sometimes are looking for the quick fix.
Absolutely right, Danielle. And of course, one of the strategies is to build this fence, this well-being fence. And of course, instead of using wood, nails, and mesh, the fence that both Adam and I, with Daniella's help and encouragement, cheering us on, is basically the TrueWell Wellbeing Program. And in the TrueWell Wellbeing Program, if you want more details, just go to truewell.org and you'll find all the details there. But what we do there is that we build our fence, but we don't build it with wood, nails, and mesh. We build it with data. We actually do some monitoring, that which I've just been castigating, sorry about that. But look, monitoring is important. I don't want to trivialize the importance of monitoring well-being. I think some programs monitor far too much. You just get monitoring fatigue. And we need often to monitor slightly less. I mean, if you're doing it, I won't say how often, but if you're doing it too often, it becomes just a mechanical thing and there's not real engagement by students or indeed by teachers too, if you do it with teachers. But we need to get the frequency of monitoring right. We need that data. That data is important. But we also, and Danielle is so right, we need student agency or voice. We need to hear, and this is a crazy thing. How many wellbeing programs have you got in your school where you actually ask the student, have you got any ideas how the school can help your well-being? So in other words, giving them voice. And of course, the importance of analysis, of analyzing well-being trends over time. What do you reckon, Daniela?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And too frequently, you'll have a passionate team of champions or a passionate wellbeing coordinator that goes to a professional learning or does their own research and finds this incredible program and comes back and says, look, we need to do this. And these programs are phenomenal and most of them are evidence-based and so on. But if you haven't got the buy-in, if you haven't got the staff voice and the teacher voice, and you've actually connected, then unfortunately what happens is, in my experience, the wellbeing coordinator spends all this time creating a program and then implementing it, but it has no traction. And so therefore it falls by the wayside, and it's disheartening.
Well, it is disheartening, and we've got to do something about it. Now, look, who is the builder of this fence? Well, gang, hey, you educators out there, God bless you, particularly in these times. My heart goes out to you. Although I'm retired as a teacher, I'm still very much involved in the education game, as indeed is Daniela, sewing into wellbeing programs in schools. And indeed, I'm also part of an executive search firm, Hutton Consulting Australia, and we find basically heads and senior leaders for schools. And so I'm still have that privilege of being engaged, but nothing like you are at the moment. My heart goes out to you. And in many ways, the last thing you want to hear from me, Tim Hawkes, is to say you've got yet another obligation. Oh my goodness, you've got another obligation. Well, we do, unfortunately. We are required to be prophets, priests, and parents. Prophets in as much as that we look into the future. We try and guess what that future is going to be to prepare our students for it. Priests, in that we actually dare to suggest that some behaviors are worthy of the human condition and others are not. And parents, so often we have to actually step in because parents are stepping out. We have that role. And part of that role is to build this fence, and we build it because it is our job And if you want to look at how our jobs as teachers are being defined these days, then you've only got to go to the 2019 Alice Springs Mapartnui Education Declaration, and there we were reminded, and I've got it here. Here it is. We are required to develop a sense of self-worth. How about that? Self-awareness and personal identity in our students. We've got to help our students become resilient, and we've got to help them to recognize, adapt to, and manage change. So non-negotiably, this is our job, to build this fence. It is part of our job. Secondly, it is part of our duty. Now, what's the difference between job and duty? Duty has, unfortunately, that rather uncomfortable element of legal expectation. And we actually have to fulfill our duty of care. We are in loco parentis, in the place of parents, and we need to exercise that duty. And that will require us to build this well-being fence at the top of the cliff. So this is our job as teachers, and it is it really is a demanding job. And that's why we need saints like Daniela and her programs to help us to do it. Daniela.
Yeah, look, people often talk about wanting a whole school well-being initiative. Whole school means exactly that, whole school. So you've got staff, you've got students, you've got parents, you've got non-teaching staff, administration staff, maintenance staff. It means whole staff, a whole school community. So again, sometimes what happens in schools is they get very focused on the student well-being initiative, which is important. That's our primary role. But if we're going to support the entire organisation, we need to look at all stakeholders as well. So who is the builder? We are, and everybody is.
Yeah. And look, you know, it even comes down to little things. If we are wanting to build this fence, it's often about the sort of type of teacher that we are. Where are we on this diagram? Are we a sort of a low control teacher or a high control teacher? Whenever I ask teachers, they say, I'm in the middle. And I usually go and say, whereabouts in the middle are you?
Oh, look, Tim, I can say I'm a self-confessed control freak all the way. There you are. You've got it. You've got it.
There we go. Well, this is not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, you know, direct instruction is winning the day over discovery learning and a whole range of constructivist models. But you know, there you go. And then, of course, you have the other continuum, the warmth continuum. Now, obviously, if we want great mental health in our students, we are really wanting high warmth. And by high warmth, we don't mean high warmth with you know, we don't want martinets and, you know, thrashing you on the hour and beating you in between and afterwards say thank you sort of thing. We are basically wanting, aren't we? We're wanting to create a culture and an atmosphere within our classrooms as teachers, which is honoring of the individual, where there are respectful relationships and where we know the students. And isn't that important? Even
absolutely. To me, that says authenticity.
Yeah.
It's not about being the same as everybody, but it's saying, you know what, this is me. This is how I do it in my quirky way. And let's face it, the kids know who's the quirky teacher and the quirky this and the quirky, but it's having that inclusivity and saying, you know, this is how I do it, but I'm allowed to do it, and having that authenticity and that inclusivity, I think, is so important.
Yeah. What I think we might do now, Daniela, is I'm going to have a look at 7 dangers, 7 things that can cause our students to fall off the cliff, and perhaps just a few thoughts about what we can do about them. And so we're going to explore then what are the dangers. And the first one is the issue of mental health. And obviously mental health, I mean, that is a very serious issue. And we actually have a variety of mental health disorders. And it is interesting that they can be mood disorders, such as depression and bipolar and things like that. There can be anxiety disorders. There can be personality disorders. There can be psychotic disorders, and those are very frightening because that involves the student losing contact with reality. And this obviously includes one's issues and conditions such as schizophrenia and psychosis. And then we have eating disorders. we have an increased evidence of that being a problem in our young today, particularly amongst girls. Trauma-related disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorders, and indeed, may I just say, COVID is now a recognised trauma. And so isn't that sobering? And then finally, substance abuse disorders. Those are the 7 main disorders that are recognised. So we've got to actually build that fence, Daniela, that is going to do something about these mental health issues.
Oh, look, absolutely. And I just want to clarify, we're actually talking about mental ill health.
Yes.
And it's not a teacher's duty to diagnose, identify, or create that diagnosis. But at the end of the day, we are faced with all of these different conditions, and we do have systems of support that we can access to give us information on how to best treat these, and that's not our position. But what we do need to do is we need to be aware of them, and we need to have strategies to navigate and manage situations as they arise. So yeah, we are definitely, as educators, the big thing I hear repeatedly from educators at the moment is this high rise in anxiety. And I don't mean clinical anxiety, I just mean our heightened senses of uncertainty, living in that VUCA world of volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, which is the term that the US Army identified with, about 20, 30 years ago. And it's a word that comes up a lot now of how do we actually manage all this uncertainty? How do we plan for it? And if we don't have the internal resources to better manage our own thoughts, feelings, and emotions and behaviors, then it can lead to other things as well. But yeah, to recognize there's more that we need to be aware of to sort of help young people.
And I've got to say, Daniela, that with these repeated lockdowns with our cousins down there in Victoria, and with this lengthy lockdown here in New South Wales, we have lockdown the ACT, we have Queensland, of course, there are issues there, and just about everywhere except to Western Australia at the moment, and even there's threats. So, and there is a real weariness now. I'm picking up that there is a very real weariness. And can I just quietly say this? We see this in our students, and they often get that weariness. They're picking it up often from their parents.
Yeah. And
then also that weariness is a very real issue, and in teachers, in you guys. And may I quietly say, and there are a number there who have honoured us by tuning in tonight that are educational leaders that are running schools or on the executive of schools, and you too, you are not immune, despite the title and the fact you've got a reserved car parking space and an awesome secretary. You are not immune from this intense weariness. And although we're this evening talking about mental health of students and how we can prevent it, that's hence the cliff, the fence at the top of the cliff. I don't want to forget you guys. Your mental health is absolutely vital. Can I just, so one of the dangers, the mental health dangers that we want to protect our students from so that they don't pirouette off the end of the well-being cliff, are the digital dangers. And it is interesting how these days they're talking about passive digital footprints, which is, if you like, it's what they call our data exhaust. And this is where data is collected from our students without them knowing. And that's why we call it a passive digital footprint. And this passive digital footprint is basically monitored by those with very powerful algorithms who work out what you say, what you buy, what you watch, what you play, what you consume. And then our students' IP addresses are monetized, to very good effect. And then you have your active digital footprints, and these are those that you are aware of. We constructed ourselves. It's basically our Facebook page, our friends, those that we like, and so on and so forth. And here again, there are all sorts of dangers. 25% of people, I understand, Daniela, regret having a tattoo. There we are, 25%.
I can safely tell you I do not have one, and I'm very proud
I'm
not
to
have
go
one.
into that debate. I've got 2 little tattoos, but they're there for a different reason. But anyway, but it is interesting that 25% was probably not too dissimilar from those that have posted comments. About 25% actually regret posting a quarter of their comments. We have issues, of course, of cyber sex. it has a AAA rating. What do I mean by a AAA rating? The cybersex as an example of one of the other digital dangers we need to protect our students from, because it is A, accessible, A, it is affordable, and A, it is anonymous. We need programs to actually prevent and prepare our students from falling into the huge number of dangerous situations which are provided by the digital world. So Daniela, how are you going with your digital world?
Look, my digital world's fine. You know what I think? I think when it comes to young people, there's a lot of talk about technology, and from what I'm hearing and what I feel as well is that technology is a tool, and any tool can be used for good or bad. And there are so many amazing, wonderful apps, and wonderful reachout.com, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Beyond Blue, Bite Back, which is the Black Dog Institute's resource of preventing mental ill health with young people. So Bite Back is fantastic. In terms of adults, you've got Happify, which is a fantastic app. You've got Fabulous, which is a fantastic Insight Timer. You've got a mood meter from Yale Emotional Intelligence section of the university there. And I think there's so many dangers, and we fall into these traps, and we need to protect young people and build the wellbeing fence for them around that. But we also need to acknowledge that technology, which I know you already agree, team, is that technology is not the enemy. It's a tool, but do we use it for good or do we use it for bad? And helping people sort of find that middle ground between all of it is so important.
Yeah, and you mentioned these programs, and both Adam Weber and I, as you know, part of the True World program, we have got interactive programs on each of these dangers that we're presenting tonight. Each of these programs lasting about 20 minutes, interactive, digital, able to be personalized by schools. So the True World program is out there, and we've got about 27, I think, Adam, is it? 27 courses. I think we've got 29. So that's right. We've just done 2 new ones, one on vaping, next one on sexual consent. So you're right. So, and here we are, the irony, isn't it, Daniela, that we are using technology, digital technology, for good. So that the point that you make there is really, really good. Now, of course, another one of the great dangers and one of the most common problems in terms of impacting upon student well-being is the issue of bullying. And of course, the rise these days, not just in physical bullying, of course, which is the sort of thing you're seeing here, the taunting, the verbal, the social teasing, but also cyber bullying, issues such as revenge porn and flaming, and these sorts of things. We need programs, preventative programs, that are going to stop our students hurting each other in this particular space. And bullying is a really important one, Daniela, isn't it?
Look, absolutely. And you know, any educator will tell you that bullying happens. And let's understand also that there's a difference between teasing and bullying. Bullying is defined as repeated offence, repeatedly. So there's a difference between teasing and bullying, but any teacher will tell you that observing bullying in a classroom environment or a lunchtime environment is horrible to watch. And sometimes I certainly wish there was more I could do. Like, how do I actually prevent it? How do I actually have better conversations with young people, with, you know, both the bully and the victim? And, you know, let's acknowledge that both the bully is a victim and the victim is a victim as well. So what are the strategies to actually have better conversations? And that's why, you know, I'm here with True Well.
And I think that's so right, Daniela. One of the challenges I often give to the heads of schools that I work with is to what extent are they happy with their bully proofing program?
That's right.
And now we need a bully preventative program, yes.
That's right.
But we also need a bully proofing, and all the more so in a world which is addicted to victim mentalities being adopted, and by a lack of resilience. And so a program of bully proofing. And if you want to know more about that, then get in contact with the True Well website, and we actually deal with issues. So we mentioned, talking about resilience, and golly, look at that, terrifying. And but resilience comes from the Greek word, to resile, which means to bounce back. And can I just share one little tip? We need a couple of take homes here, don't we?
Yes, do it.
Useful little tip. There've been times in my life where I've actually gone through some pretty heavy stuff, and in the media and stuff like there's just been castigated, and you think, oh, for goodness sake, and you feel, I can genuinely say I feel very close to making a one-way journey to a cliff myself, and but the love of family and support of friends and stuff, stop that from happening. But this issue of resilience becomes really, really important. And I've got a very ugly, identical twin brother. And Nick said to me, he said, and he's a doctor, he's a Reverend Dr. Nick Hawkes, and he said, oh, Dr. Hawkes, he said, talking to me, Dr. Tim Hawkes, doctorate, intelligent, all the rest of it. Tell me, who is it that you are now allowing to meddle and fiddle with your mind? Are they really nice people that you're allowing, intelligent people, well-informed people, or are they those that don't know, who speak of ignorance, who have political agendas, who want to sensationalize and hurt you? Can you answer that question? And I had to say, well, Nick, yeah, you're right. It's the wrong people. And so Nick said, look, I love you, I'm your twin. If I say you're an idiot and you are a dropkick, then you are indeed an idiot and a dropkick. Mm-hmm. But if idiots and dropkicks say that to you, then don't let them control your mood. Let the right people control your mood. What do you reckon, Daniela?
Yeah, look, absolutely. We hear this word resilience played a lot over the last 18 months, and there's the concept of definitely the whole bounce back. But something that I say to people when I'm talking to them over the last 18 months is, to me, resilience is being able to navigate change as it happens. Because we're traveling along and we fall down, we want to bounce back, that's fine, but then there's another road, there's another speed bump, and then another one, and then there's a hole in the road, and then there's a pothole, and then there's a detour side. So having those skills to navigate change as it happens is really a wonderful way that I like to describe resilience. But then also this whole concept, if we look at the research, of post-traumatic growth. So there's post-traumatic stress, which is I don't bounce back. Then there's post-traumatic growth, which is I fall down, but I grow from that experience. And often we need that. We need those social and emotional skills to be able to identify those feelings that we have, those emotions, and then reconcile them in short time, long period of time, whatever it's required. And then we can have that reflection to look back on that experience and say, wow, how have I grown? What have I learned from that experience? And I'm really looking forward to next year, where I think we will have opportunities to reflect back on this year and the year past to potentially grow from these experiences. What did we learn from ourselves and others?
Yeah. Well, again, the challenge here is, to what extent have you in your school developed a resilience program?
Yeah.
And I mean both mental resilience, physical resilience in terms of relationships. Relationships are often our Achilles heel. And as indeed I illustrated through my own life, let the right people control your mood. So with all of these threats, with all of these things that threaten to pirouette our students and sometimes even ourselves off the well-being cliff, we need preventative programs, and we need to actually not spend money sending ambulances to the bottom of the cliff, although from time to time that will tragically be necessary. But we need to spend time and effort to build this preventative, redemptive barrier at the top of we need courses that are going to enrich and sow into the lives of our students. And that's exactly describing the True or Wellbeing program for students. As I say, we've got about 29 different courses on different things, which are designed mainly for secondary students, but we do have elements that are appropriate for primary. And of course, and Adam and I did this. I didn't particularly want to do this. I'd much prefer to go fishing. Thank you very much, quietly. And but we did this because we just didn't see this redemptive element in so many of the wellbeing programs that are on offer. Yes, true. At Trua, we do the monitoring. Yes, we collect, we give voice and agency to students. Yes, we monitor trends. We do all that. But and indeed, a number of other wellbeing programs, God bless them, do that as well. But then they stop. They stop, and they don't put in place programs which teach resilience, such as this, or how to handle the digital world and so on. So that's really what this is about. And for example, this holy trinity of factors that are so impact upon our well-being: diet, exercise, and sleep. We do need programs that actually teach our students, not just those doing PDHPE, but all of our students in this particular space. What do you reckon, Danielle?
Oh, look, absolutely. I love, there's a saying that says we need to take our meds, MEDS. And we talk about taking our meds for lots of different reasons, but taking our meds in this context is the M is for meditation, E is for exercise, D for diet, and S for sleep. So it's really just putting the M at the front, and then all of a sudden we're taking our meds. But it also comes down to the work of sports psychologists, so Jim Law and a lot of other people talking about the making of a corporate athlete. The making of a corporate athlete is based on every day taking your meds: meditation, diet, exercise, and sleep. And you listen to any successful CEO or entrepreneur or successful Olympic athlete, and they will have a very, very strict routine around taking their meds each day.
I think that's absolutely right. And again, the challenge is, what programs do you have in your school which talk to every one of your students, not just those in, as I say, doing PDHPE, about the value and importance of sleep and how to get ready to sleep and what sort of things are going to contribute to sleep and so on and so forth. And issues of exercise and diet, I mean, most of those are well known. But to what extent are we monitoring and really pushing these things? And this is what we need. We need these redemptive, preventative programs. We need these fences at the top of the well-being cliff, or ill-being cliff. You're quite right, Danielle. I like that little thing. And of course, we come to relationships. To what extent do we teach relationships? Now, it's interesting. If the job of a school in some ways is to prepare our students for the future, what are the great certainties of the future? Well, we know what the certainties of the future are. They're death and taxes, aren't they? Duh. Do we teach death? Do we teach taxes? Do we teach financial literacy? And then you ask people, well, what is the biggest single determinant of well-being? And they will say, of course, I'll say an endless box of Tim Tams. Of course, that's the answer. It's the only answer you can give. But when they get over that sort of thing, they will usually settle down on its relationships with your God, spiritual relationships with people, relationships with furball friends.
Look, absolutely. It's that whole connection. And you speak to we look at any research and you're looking at student wellbeing in schools, and you've got connection and belonging are at the top of the list all the time. You speak to any young person who has gone through hardship, and they'll say, what got you through? And they'll say that one teacher who saw me and connected with me. What did they do differently? They respected me. They heard me. They understood me. Then you've got relationships with students. Who were the people that got you through? Who was the person that had your back? Who was the person that you feel you could go and speak to when you needed to, when you were feeling like you're at the top of the cliff? So all these things are really important. And then when you look at from an organizational perspective, you've got work around high quality connections. So Jane Dutton's work in organizational psychology, high quality connections, 4 pathways. We need to play, we need to build trust, we build respect, but we build task enabling behaviors where we help each other succeed. So these things are really important for well-being.
Yeah, exactly. So to what extent do you and your school teach relationships? And of course, it's interesting, Adam and I, when we had Chanel Contos coming out with her very necessary petition about sexual consent, within I think it took us about 2 weeks, didn't it, Adam? We actually brought out an interactive digital program on sexual consent. In fact, so passionate were Adam and I to want to support the work of Chanel and others in this very, very important space that we actually made the program available for free. So in fact, if you want to access it, let me tell you now, It's absolutely free. Just go to it. It's basically, hang on, I've got to get this right. I think it's truewell.org/consent. Did I get that right, Adam?
You did, absolutely.
Oh, look at that. I'll say it again, in which case I've got to celebrate this fact because I'm very often not right in this space. So here we go. We'll try it again. Truewell, TRUWELL, .org/consent. And there is a basically, I think it's two, in fact, 220.
No, it's only one. It's
one.
Okay. It's a special edition.
Adam, I preferred my story, but out. All right. Okay. So no, look, it's there. It's free. As indeed, we've just done one on vaping.
It's a two-part series.
And that is a two-part series. I know that. and that we also made free because we just had so many friends of mine who are heads of school who are just saying, hey, Tim, this is a serious problem. Adam, this is a serious problem. So we were pleased to be able to put those programs together. And of course, look, these are other programs, addictions and recreational drugs. I mentioned vaping. So have a look at the vaping course if you want, again, to look at vaping. Adam, what is how do they access the vaping course? You need to take yourself off mute. That's it.
It's pretty straightforward. It's truewell.org/vaping.
There you go. There it is. So it's exactly the same thing. So, and look, that's there available for you guys for free to use. Just send it out to all of your students in the secondary level, probably best at teen level, and send it to your parents. A lot of parents would be grateful for accessing that, and certainly, obviously, to your staff if you're leading schools. They are there. And in fact, actually, as you look at those two free programs, they're going to give you an indication of the fence that Adam and I have built at Truewell. In other words, examples of the sorts of programs that we make available for schools if they should decide to run with the Truewell program. We think the Truewell program is particularly important. It's important for things like this, not just for big issues such as bullying and digital footprints and relationships and diet and exercise, but also for rather soulful issues such as protecting your inner self. And how is it that you can protect your inner self, not just here in terms of mental well-being, but in terms of who are you? Who are you, 24601? Who are you? And to what extent are you aware that in many ways we write our epitaph every day? What is it that we're put in this world to do? What is our destiny? What do we want to do? So listen, I am going to now let Adam say a few words, and then Daniela is going to share some information about an exciting initiative. In many ways, this initiative actually is worth listening to because it balances the work that Adam and I are doing in the student wellbeing space, because Daniela will be talking about a really exciting initiative in the teacher wellbeing space. Why? Because teacher wellbeing does impact on student well-being, so it is very relevant. But Adam, you perhaps want to just share one or two other bits of information related to Truewell, only because I've made several references to it tonight. Yeah,
no, well, thank you very much for that, and for the insights, Tim and Daniela. There have been so many great tips. Building, as you've heard today, building a wellbeing fence is complex. There is a comprehensive element, and really building a physical fence, there is that complexity, and so with building this wellbeing fence as well. And an extensive wellbeing report just came out a month ago and had the core 6 things that needed to be in place, and I'll send that through. It's the AIS report. Now the report said what was needed but not how to get there, and this needs to change. Right now there's a lot of advice. There's just such a lot of advice on what needs to be there but not how to get there. And at Truewell, we believe that to get there, it should be rather straightforward. We've been working with schools to build that, to build the wellbeing fence, and we launched the free course on sexual consent for free, so that schools can start building that fence. Same with the vaping course, and also our teacher wellbeing survey is now free for all schools to use as well. So we need to both monitor the well-being of our students as well as enrich and protect their well-being. Now, I'm going to very quickly share my screen, just very briefly here. And this is our library of resources here. This is the largest library of interactive resources to protect and enrich the well-being of our teachers and students. These are our surveys that we have here. These are our courses. We've got 22 interactive courses for teachers, but I'm going to scroll down very quickly because we're talking about students here. In
many ways, Adam, these are the palings of our fence.
Yeah. No, well, that's right, Tim. And you know, one of the challenges with wellbeing is putting it in a format that is going to have impact for our students and teachers as well. And it's got to be more than just you know, being in a format that is a lot of text. It's got to be something that's interactive, engaging, and designed for Gen Z. So we were talking a bit about digital wellbeing, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback from our schools on our digital wellbeing course. And I'll just show you a couple of screens here very quickly. So this is what it looks like. It's very very interactive and engaging, and that video can actually be replaced, so you can have your students talking about encouraging digital well-being, or even your staff talking about that. We provide the scripts, and you send us the finished video. It's really straightforward. So you know, this is the sort of format that we need it to be, and it needs to be engaging. It needs to be a multimedia experience. There's a number of students that struggle. They are of low literacy background or an ESL background, and so our courses are designed to be a complete audio driven experience. Tim is a great voice actor, and he's done most of the work there, and it just, the courses are phenomenal because we have taken that approach of ensuring that it is something that all of our students can complete. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen because you've got our courses there. You've got our vaping and course on sexual consent, so you're able to have a look at those courses. But you know, building this wellbeing fence is complex, and we're really trying to assist schools to do 80% of that building. We think once you've got those resources, once you've got the resources for your teachers so that you can get buy-in from the teachers, you've got buy-in from the community by sending it out to parents, that you're building this really a strong and sturdy well-being fence. So if you want any more information, feel free to send me an email or book a meeting with me, and I'm happy to answer any questions and to onboard you if you want to get access to that teacher wellbeing survey and some of our other resources.
So now, Daniela, to you, just again to sort of balance up what we've been saying here about student wellbeing. And if anybody does indeed need to contact Adam, then go to hello at truewell.org, and Adam will be able to answer your questions. Notice the way I dob him in there, because I'm not going to. Adam is going to do all that. So Daniela, to you.
Oh, look, I was just going to say that's a perfect example of distributed leadership model, I think, Tim.
Thank you.
Look, absolutely. And so often people say, oh, so who are these blokes that you're doing these webinar things with, and what's going on? And I'm like, well, we talk about whole school wellbeing, and my priority area is focusing on the staff wellbeing, because I think it's the missing piece. People jump straight into student wellbeing. Student wellbeing is our core business. It is the main part that we need to do. But I think staff wellbeing sometimes is a missing piece, and sometimes seen as a luxury add-on if we've got time. So that's the space that I've been working in for the past 10 years or more. But I wanted to offer a wellbeing leader masterclass. Now, wellbeing stands for versatile, intelligent people, because that's what wellbeing leaders are in schools. They're versatile. They've got to navigate constantly changing environments. They're intelligent. They bring a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of passion. And they're human beings after all. So I'm offering this as a brand new workshops, brand new series, brand new stuff that I'm going to be starting on the 8th of September. I'll share more information about it in our following webinar. But if you're interested, let me know and I can secure your place, because there's only 20 people, and we'll have a private Facebook group. It's basically one-on-one coaching with me. My approach is looking at positive psychology, to what makes life most worth living. I draw on coaching psychology to say, well, what's possibility? We look at social and emotional learning of adult learning principles. And then we also look at psychological health and safety in the workplace, of how can I actually build safety so I can feel that I'm heard and that I can feel valued in that space. So they're the theories that I draw on. The layers of wellbeing, we always start with me. What am I doing for me? Then what are we doing for we, which is who's in front of me, those one-on-one conversations. And then we look at whole school approaches. So these are some of the models that I'll be sharing. And ultimately, it's a 6 C's roadmap that I created, back to the beginning of last year, which is, here I am as a wellbeing leader, and I want to get everybody on the wellbeing bus. How do I do it? And you'll always have your 10% of champions who are leading the way. And then you've got the majority of people that are like, oh, I'm not really sure I want to, but what's it going to cost me in terms of time and effort? And then you've got your 5% at the back. They're like, I'm not getting on the bus. So how do we manage all of that to those spaces? And so I take you through this roadmap of we need to explore. So we use True Well to actually survey teacher voice. Where are we at? Explore where we're at. Then we explain wellbeing, what it is and what it's not. We give opportunities to experience wellbeing. So that's where the True Well courses come in as well. We constantly evaluate so that you've got the ongoing surveys. Then we embed and say, well, what works in our context? And schools often say to me, oh, can you give me the policy on wellbeing, or can you tell me what to do? And I say, no, because it depends on your context, your school's vision, mission, stakeholders. And then we evolve by going back to the beginning and say, let's explore again. And we continue. It's an ongoing journey, but I scaffold it and share that with you. And of course, there's so many more resources. I'm a big believer in being a conduit between resources. You don't have time, and sometimes I've got time, and I want to create these things to make life easier for you anyway. That's it in theory, but there's heaps of stuff on there. And if you have questions, please ask me. Like if you say, look, we're looking at this and I need a resource for that, I've got so many resources in terms of research papers, websites, links, or tangible downloadable copies, or you've got boxes, you've got journal. I'm actually really proud of the journal that I created and published called You Matter. It's one thing that's close to my heart, but I welcome your connection and welcome any questions that you may have. But I just want to share like how it all fits in together. We're all three of us are educators. We're passionate about what we do. We want to be able to contribute because that's the nature of the human giver.
Pick up on that point, Daniela. I think one of the things that I love about your work, and indeed the work that Adam is doing, and I guess I'm doing as well, is that we're all educators. We all know what it's like to teach last period on a Friday afternoon. And after a harrowing
bottom year 8.
Exactly. In my case, it was always year 9. I thought, how did that happen? Yeah. But there you go. And so both True Well and the work that Daniela does with teacherwellbeing.com, these are programs written by educators for educators. These are not commercial. These are not done by theoreticians. There is an intense practicality to them. And so, look, if Daniela's program there at Teacher Wellbeing is going to be able to bless you and help you and enrich you, then fantastic. If the work that Adam and I are doing with True Well, just go to www.truewell.org if you want more details, then we would be delighted. One of the interesting things about the True Well offering is that, and this is one of the reasons why we love having Daniela as part of the team, is that True Well not only looks after student well-being, but it also looks after teacher well-being. And that's why we need Daniela to help us. We're in that space, and we've got these same redemptive preventative programs, this fence, if you like, on the top of the cliff, which we're talking about this evening, to basically prevent our students from harming themselves. Yeah. We've got the similar suite of programs for teachers, and indeed, may I say, quietly, support staff.
Oh, absolutely.
They're often forgotten, aren't they?
I know. I often find it funny. I've been doing a lot of 1-hour webinars, and I call it for schools at the moment. I've done 3 today. I've got 3 tomorrow as well. And it's it's just a 1-hour Zoom check-in for schools and recharge your battery. And I find it's interesting when people say, "Oh, is it for teachers or can support staff come?" And I say, oh my gosh, everybody. Wellbeing is a human issue. It's not just a teacher issue that I focus on. So absolutely.
And so just to conclude, and I'll throw now to Adam just as he wraps us up. Can I just say this? It is not responsible of us as educators. It is just not worthy of us or our profession that we afflict our schools with wellbeing programs that merely monitor wellbeing. That's the key take home tonight. I just despair at what I'm seeing being used in schools. I despair. There is very little which is redemptive, which is preventative, which is fence building at the top of the cliff. We've seriously got to do better. And there's a huge number of people who want to commercialize various models and modes of monitoring. And we have very few that are out there putting together interactive, digital, engaging sorts of programs which can be customized. And we've had a crack at that, Adam and I. It is a space we've moved into, which is pretty empty, and in many ways it makes it a very exciting life for Adam and I at the moment. But can I just say we would love others to join us in that space, because we're in this game not just to further true well, we're in this game to promote well-being in our students and indeed in our teachers as well and support staff. So that's why we do it. That's why we need it. We need that fence, these preventative and redemptive programs. Don't just monitor your students' well-being, build that fence, have a sequential program, age-related, which is engaging and appropriate, and bring that into your schools. And if we can help that at Truewell, and if Daniela can help you with that, with your teachers, then God bless you. We would love to partner with you. Yeah. So get in contact with us. Adam, over to you.
Well, thank you very much for that, Tim. And thank you, Daniela. It's been an incredible 2 webinars so far that we have done, and lots of insight and advice on a range of really important topics in wellbeing. We're finishing the Teacher Masterclass series in 2 weeks' time on such an important issue, and that's teacher training in student mental health. And we do have another major announcement in 2 weeks' time. That's again going to shake things up in this space of teacher training in student mental health. So please make sure that you do get your tickets for that. I mean, it is free, but you do still need to get your virtual tickets for it. And we look forward to seeing you then in 2 weeks' time. So yeah, please look after yourself. And stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Bye all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks everybody for joining in.